And now keep that applause going and welcome up to the stage a veteran from country music television. Please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome up to the stage here at the world famous, yes, cinema, the one and only Big John Richardson.
Thank you for inviting me out. Thank you for having me, Indiana. I am going to go out on a limb and make an assumption and just assume that a black man with dreadlocks in a spotlight at night is not necessarily new for Indiana. I was watching TV before I came up here. There's a commercial on TV where somebody's trying to tell you guys the 5 most important words anybody could ever want to hear are "you've been to Weight Watchers." I don't know about Indiana, but Clarksville, Tennessee, where I grew up, the 5 most important words anybody could ever want to hear are "the test came back negative." I grew up in Clarksville, Tennessee, and moved to Louisville, Kentucky. When I got to Kentucky, it was confusing because there's like the city of Louisville, the Ohio River, and southern Indiana. And they call that whole thing Kentuckiana. That was confusing to me because I grew up in Clarksville, Tennessee, which is right next to the Kentucky state line, and we never called it Tennessee. I really want to thank you guys for inviting me up in October, because if you had invited me in August, I wasn't coming. It was too hot for me in August. It was so hot in August, I went to church. I did, because I knew if it was that hot in August, I couldn't handle hell forever. I am standing outside of the Kentucky State Fair sweating like a pig. There's a guy from Africa walking in front of me dry as a bone. I said, "Dude, how come you aren't sweating?" He said, "Ooh, John, it's simple. In Africa, when it's hot, we drink hot coffee before we go outside. That's why we do not sweat." Genius. Drank me some hot coffee, went outside, and found out I ain't African. You gotta fill out the Census Bureau form differently next time. I am liking you guys. I was watching you guys. You guys are doing the important things. When it's funny, you're laughing. When it's not funny, you ain't doing nothing else. No, that's really cool, because every once in a while, people like to holler out stuff and interrupt, and then afterwards they'll be like, "It's a comedy show. We were just helping out." I don't understand that. I don't, because I've never gone to McDonald's and ran around to the grill, started flipping burgers, saying, "It's a restaurant, I'm just helping out." In fact, you people do that. Go to the hospital tomorrow and just start stabbing people. Say, "I'm doing surgery, just helping out." One time this woman said to me, "John, you don't understand. I have to sit up front because I like to mess with comedians." I said, "That's just fine. But remember, Roy liked to mess with the tiger too." Y'all got that one. It's gonna be a good night. It's gonna be a good night. I got my foot in a cast because I broke my foot last year and it didn't heal right, so they reset it. I broke my foot working out because 2 things happened to me. The first was I got out of the shower one day and I looked down and I said, "Ooh, you look good. You must have lost some weight." And then I turned to the side and found it. Second thing that happened is I got an invitation to do some comedy at my high school reunion. And I never went to a reunion before because when I graduated, I was overweight, unattractive, obnoxious, and unpopular. Now I'm older. And I know I'm getting older because there was a time in my life I look at beautiful young women and I think to myself, "Ooh, the things I could do to you." Now that I'm older, I look at beautiful young women and I think, "Is your mama single?" Life's not fair for men as we get older. Here's what they don't tell you for men when we get older. I was 49 in August. And if there's a woman, single, 49, wants to date a younger dude, Stella's getting her groove on. She's hip. She's cool. She's a cougar. You go, girl. You let Big John at 49 want to date a younger woman, here comes that dude from Dateline. Just sit in the chair, Big John. Just sit in the chair. I had a ball at my high school reunion, though. I did. I walked in, my principal was there. I ran up, I gave him a great big old hug, and I said, "You, my man, were wrong. He said, what do you mean? Turns out I can make a living telling jokes for the rest of my life. I am glad you guys are laughing. You're making me feel better. I was in a bad mood when I came up here because I was standing outside waiting for the rest of the gang to pick me up, and these two white women pulled up in a car, and they rolled down the window and said, hey, we know you know, how do you get to the jail? That's not what made me mad. I know how to get to the jail. There you go. You guys are laughing. I like to have fun. If you make things fun, it makes it easier to do things. Like I read the Bible now because I made it fun. Like, you know that story in the Bible where Jesus was lost and Joseph, when he finally found him, he said, Jesus, there you are. We've been looking all over for you. And Jesus said, you should have known to look for me in the house of my father. I just make it a 2010 Jesus and Joseph, like I pictured Joseph. Get over here, boy, I've been looking for you. Don't make me chase you down again. And then Jesus getting mad saying, you ain't my daddy. I did a church joke in Indiana. Church joke number 2. My name's John, and part of the reason I'm such a big hunk of blob is that I like to eat. And I was dating this one woman, she's like, John, you know what? My son is named John, and my brother's named John, and both of them like to eat too, because that's what Johns do. You do. If you look at the Last Supper, Peter is to the right of Jesus, and John is to the left, and Jesus looking to the left saying, I can't believe you're still eating, John. And knowing John, he got an attitude. Look, mister, I'm going to feed a multitude with a half a loaf of bread and 3 fishes. This is actually Judas's part. He went somewhere, said he'd be back in a half hour. See how I did that? Made y'all laugh and really made y'all feel uncomfortable? I got skills. You do have to have fun, you do. But before I broke my foot, I was walking in Louisville, it's like 3 in the morning, and I come across this building with the alarm going off. So I ran next to the building and called my agent on her cell phone, so I knew it was gonna go to her voicemail. I held it up, and then when it got to the voicemail, I yelled into the phone, just tell the police I was with you all night long, and I hung up the phone. And I laughed, and I laughed, and I laughed. I was walking through Walmart, and there were these 2 elderly white sisters arguing over which DVD to buy, and one of them was holding the Chronicles of Narnia. And she's like, I ain't buying this movie. I ain't buying no movie that has Indians in it. So I said, excuse me, ma'am, I couldn't help but overhear. If you'd allow me, I recommend you get this movie. It's an instant classic and a Western. She said, really? I said, yes, ma'am. And the best part about it is there are no Indians in Brokeback Mountain. And I laughed, and I laughed, and I laughed. My agent gets me back the first day of school. John, it's the first day of school, and I'm not feeling well. Will you come with me to pick up my son from school? I said, sure. All the way to the school, she's complaining, John, I really, really feel bad. And it was so hard to get my son off to school after that long summer break. I had to promise him some candy. So when we get to the school, will you go over there and give him the candy and bring him to the car? Exactly. Picture me walking past security guards, bus drivers, teachers, and parents, up to this 8-year-old red-headed white dude. And when he says, where's my mom? I gotta say, she's not feeling well. She told me to come get you and take you home. Here's a candy bar. Come on, let's get in the van. She laughed and she laughed and she laughed. I'm a diabetic, I gotta take the insulin shot. So I was doing this show at the Kentucky State Capitol for this political group, and I excused myself to the bathroom because sometimes people get offended if you shoot up in front of them. So just when I stuck the needle in, the governor of Kentucky walks in. So I just looked at him and went, he didn't laugh. And I got a court date Tuesday. I'm about to go. You notice I've been up here about 8 minutes and haven't done a whole lot of cussing. I get in trouble like that all the time. I was doing this show with this black comedian. He's like, ooh, John, you know if you don't cuss, you might not be black. So I said, yeah, because that's what made the I Have a Dream speech so memorable. And then my pastor's like, John, I'm so glad you're not abusing the talent God gave you by doing all that cussing and nasty stuff. That's not why. And then somebody else would say, well, I'm glad you're trying to be a great role model for your daughter by not doing all that cussing and nasty stuff. That's not why. Well, how come you don't do all that cussing and nasty stuff? Simple. Mama is still alive. God loves you, so do I. Good night, y'all. I'm Big John. Thank you.
A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for the comedy of Big John Richardson.